Part 30. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 292. And it seems to be to verify what he imagined. The simulated text continues to evolve downwards. Resolved the boulder weighing on my heart. Both you, Fudabario, Nishiki Kishu, and Inu Takina all breathed a sigh of relief. Your life is back on track. This time, there will be no surprises. Fudabario has achieved outstanding results in the Department of Physics at the University of Tokyo, and was selected into a very famous research laboratory as a formal assistant. The academic papers she published have also been evaluated as epoch-making by several scientific newspapers. Emerging arguments. On the road of physics, she is getting farther and farther, and it can be said that she has a bright future. But you did not forget your original intention and continued to wander among internet companies in the second year after receiving your master's degree. You saw through the trend of the popular rock music of the season and signed a contract with the End Band. In this season, the End Band rock music with city pop style is popular all over Japan. You have accumulated a lot of wealth as a result. Everything will develop according to your plan. Smooth sailing. Chapter 218. Your wives are jealous of you, 4,000 words. Time continues to move backward. It seems that in just a blink of an eye, you graduate from college. After graduation, you continue to run the business that you had established in college. You have accumulated a certain amount of wealth and bought a mansion in Tokyo that 4 people can live in without feeling crowded. Fudabario, on the other hand, continues to choose to stay at the University of Tokyo and improve her knowledge in the field of physics that belongs to her. In the past, she seemed immature and inexperienced in the field of physics, but now she has gradually become a rising star in Japanese academic circles that no one can ignore. Among the vast amounts of knowledge, she especially loves the theory of quantum mechanics. Because she participated in several major theoretical publications. After completing all her courses, she was invited by the University of Tokyo to become a professor at the University of Tokyo and entered a world-leading and famous laboratory, focusing on the field of quantum mechanics. She has a very heavy workload in school. But even so, her relationship with you is not even remotely alienated. Because no matter how busy she is, she will still take time to relax with you. Just holding a cup of hot coffee and whispering secrets that only you know is enough to relax her after a long day of fatigue. Close your eyes when you are in Nangxiang. Memories flashed back in my mind. In the memory, he was lying on a bench in the courtyard, seemingly sleeping. Next to him were Nishiki Kishu, Inu Takina, and Fudabario who accompanied him. Just look at him resting with his eyes closed. They quietly entered the house and brought the blanket. Love is a very simple thing. Just ordinary interactions can make each other happy. Your feelings have not faded even with the passage of time. During this stage, Fudaba's parents also slowly recognize your feelings for each other. As they get older, they have started to look away. There is no need to stick to their set of ideas all the time. Your happiness as the parties involved is the most important. They finally recognized you. And Fudaba's parents recognized Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina as their goddaughters. Your footsteps will no longer stop, and you will take a new step forward. With the approval and permission of Fudaba's parents, you have set a wedding date and location. The wedding venue is your hometown in Akita. Because the wedding is quite special, you didn't invite any guests. There were only a few familiar friends, Fudaba's parents, and your parents on the wedding day. At the banquet, they appeared in wedding dresses, as beautiful as flowers. In the presence of each other's parents and everyone in Riko, you got married. You became husband and wife with Nango Kishu, Nango Takina, and Nango Rio. That night, you partied until very late. Nangxiang Kinshu's happiness level has increased. Nango Takina's happiness level has increased. Nango Rio's happiness level has increased. At this time, without the heartbeat points of personal simulation, it is the most helpless thing. In reality, Nang Xiangxi just looked at his little remaining heart rate and couldn't help but shake his head gently. That's it, forget it if you don't have it. In fact, he didn't particularly care what the so-called party meant. Just slightly curious. Keep looking down. Time continues to move backwards. The success in your relationship also extends to your career. Relying on my own experience and extraordinary foresight. The scale of the company you run is getting bigger and bigger, and it has quickly become one of the most famous companies among young people nowadays. You have accumulated a lot of wealth as a result. That is a sum of money that is enough to make your life very comfortable even if you no longer continue to work. Money problems are solved by you. You no longer have to worry about money issues. Similarly, at the request of Nango Kishu and Nango Takina, you and them will have a child soon. You did not tell Nango Rio this news. You know, her research has come to an end. That is her lifelong ideal. You don't want any external factors to affect her mentality. Until Nango Kishu and Nango Takina's bodies changed and they could no longer hide it. You just told her what happened. Facing your concealment, she, who has always been obedient to you, has some opinions. Why didn't you tell me such a big thing? She. Standing outside the ward. Nango Rio, who was dressed in casual clothes, lowered her voice for fear of disturbing Nango Takina and Nango Kishu inside. There was obvious dissatisfaction on her little face. He seemed to be blaming Nang Xiang for why he didn't tell her such a big thing. She pouted. Even if I tell you what happened, it won't have any effect. Nang Xiangxi stretched out his hand in a funny way, wanting to touch his wife's delicate face. But the palm was just put on it. Nango Rio tilted his head to one side. Leo. Nang Xiangxi deliberately prolonged his voice and hugged her from behind, not giving her a chance to continue making trouble. He bit her ear and said, "This is actually your problem." My question. I really didn't expect that my husband would actually beat him up at this time. Nango Rio turned his head with a look of astonishment on his face. Yes. Regarding the astonished expression on her face, Nang Xiangxi smiled and pinched her face. Soft. You have been busy with research and have never been with me at all. I have no complaints about this. How dare you have any objections? As he spoke, Nang Xiang placed his palms on her soft waist. Well. Her husband's bold move made Nango Rio's face turn slightly red. That being said, but. She still wanted to talk. No but, Rio, just tell me what you want. Well. Nango Rio opened his mouth. Feeling Nang Xiang's gaze. She turned her head to the side uncomfortably. After a while. After the research is over, I also want to. The words ended here, and it felt like there was no beginning or end. But the meaning of the words can be understood by anyone who comes over. But at this time, Nang Xiangxi pretended to be stupid. What do you want? You obviously know that. Leo, how can I know if you don't explain it clearly? Hateful. A blush suddenly appeared on his face. With a bit of shame and anger, she stared at her husband who was obviously teasing her. Her glare had no effect. Nang Xiangxi still looked at her with a smile, waiting for her statement. Face this attitude from your husband. Nango Rio hesitated for a long time before speaking. It's, that, want to have kids. No one can think of it. Professor Rio Minamigo, who had a very powerful voice in the Department of Physics of the University of Tokyo, now spoke with a weak voice and no strength. Nang Xiang laughed in a low voice. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Zi Wei. Chapter 293. This made Nango Rio feel even more embarrassed, and she glared at him hard again. My husband has always been like this. She knew it clearly. But every time she threw herself into the trap and was deceived. Really? She was so angry that she couldn't speak. It was not until Nangxiang repeatedly comforted her later and promised to give her a child when her research was completed that she finally calmed down. After receiving your promise, Nango Rio's nervousness relaxed. She returns to work. But after work, she did not forget to come to visit Nango Kishu and Nango Takina, and made many dishes for them that were conducive to pregnancy. Under the care of you and Nango Rio, the production process of Nango Sensu and Nango Takina was very smooth. You named the daughters born to them Nangxiang Harutoki and Nangxiang Naegzun. After having a daughter, Nangxiang Qianshu's originally lively and active personality became calm. Of course, in front of you, she is still the Nangxiang Qianshu who always acts coquettishly. Futiba's parents love their two granddaughters very much, and they will come over from time to check on them, and occasionally take them home to spend the night. Futiba's parents and friends of Rico will bring over many children's clothes from time to time. Under their teasing, Nangxiang Chunchi and Nangxiang Naegzun grew up healthily. Nango Rio also loves his two daughters very much and often takes time to visit them. Similarly, when visiting, she would also show envy towards Kishu and Takina. In this regard, Nango Kishu and Nango Takina always smiled and comforted her, telling her not to worry. Your days pass slowly and happily. It was also during this process that the quantum mechanics research that Nango Rio had been insisting on finally achieved success. She proposed a whole new set of theories to explain physical microscopic phenomena. Once this theory was proposed, it sparked heated discussions in the academic community. As the main constructor of the theory, Nango Rio's status in the entire academic world has increased. But all this has nothing to do with her. Having realized her dream of pursuing physics, she no longer cares about these false reputations. Similarly, long-term hard work in the field of physics also made her accumulate a lot of fatigue. Now that she has realized her dream, she begins to think about rest. You, Nango Kishu, and Nango Takina all understand and agree with her decision. And with your support, she no longer hesitates. 3 months after realizing her dream, she formally submitted her resignation application to the University of Tokyo after finishing all her work. As a genius, her actions puzzled the entire academic community. For a time, not only friends from academia, but even reporters from some news media came to visit, trying to figure out the reason for Nango Rio's sudden resignation. But at that time, Nango Rio had already returned to your hometown in Akita County to prepare for pregnancy. As you promised before, Nango Rio is also pregnant. While she is preparing for pregnancy, you, Kishu, and Takina will take turns taking care of her. Your care was very effective, and her body did not show symptoms such as weakness or pregnancy reactions. After several months of continuous hard work and perseverance, Nango Rio successfully gave birth to a girl. You name the born child May. There are gradually more colors in your life. Happiness does not require any unnecessary words. The most precious things are hidden in the daily routine that we are accustomed to. In reality, Nangxiang closed his eyes. He can feel it. Memories are tumbling in the back of my mind. In the courtyard, Nango Nahiro, Nango Harutoki, and the infant Nango Mei are practicing walking. A scene where the wives smile with satisfaction. The scene of hugging Nango Kishu, looking at Nango Takina, and listening to Nango Rio's voice. This is a very strange feeling. A dull feeling of happiness surged from my heart. It can't be described in words. Nangxiang Shi could only close his eyes and experience this feeling. Time has lost its meaning in your daily interactions. You sit together quietly, without the fatigue of work or the worries of youth. The large amount of money you have has meaning at this moment. This allows you to take time to spend with your wife and daughter. Time continues to pass later. As you grow older, the younger generation is also growing up. Blonde Harutoki Nango and black-haired Nahiro Nango have shown amazing talents in sports and reading respectively. With a little training, you can use it as a springboard to enter a realm that others may not be able to enter in their lifetime. Similar to her sister Nango Nahiro, Nango May has also been particularly fond of reading since she was a child. She seems to have inherited her mother's genes. She is indescribably curious about the vast world of physics. It's just that what gives Nango Kishu, Nango Takina, and Nango Rio a headache. The three daughters are not affectionate towards their mother, who spends all day and night with them and takes care of them. On the contrary, for a father like you who always lets them run errands and do housework, he has unimaginable enthusiasm. No matter what kind of thing, as long as you give your orders, they will complete it immediately. Your wives are very unbalanced about this. I think you took away the children's love from them. And they will also subconsciously look at you more closely, and sometimes even stipulate that you are not allowed to have contact with the child during certain periods of time. You just smile and agree to this, and then you forget all about it when you turn around. Your wives are helpless about your behavior. Under your influence, Nangxiang Chunchi gradually fell in love with sports and gave full play to his talents. Nango Nahiro started serializing novels at a young age, and seems to want to make his debut as a novelist as an adult. And the youngest Nango May tells you that she wants to become a physicist like her mother. Of course you strongly support this. Time passes in this process. They grow up slowly, and you grow old slowly. This is an irreversible process. Chapter 219. Your daughter clings to you 4,000 words. You are getting older slowly, from youth to middle age. The years are passing by. Your daughter is also growing up. Under the influence of you and your wife, Nango Harutoki and Nango Nahiro embarked on the path of athletes and literary novel writers respectively. Especially Nango Harutoki, who inherited the talents of his mother Nishiki Kishu, is very talented in archery and shooting sports, and was even able to enter Japan's outstanding universities with this outstanding talent. And Nangxiang Naixun inherited part of your writing talent under your guidance. He went further and further on the road of being a literary novel author. Among the three sisters, the one who worries you the most is the youngest daughter Nango May. Because entering the field of physics itself requires a certain amount of talent and hard work. And sometimes, even if you have talent and hard work, it is not enough in this extremely profound and obscure subject. Because in addition to rich knowledge, extraordinary luck is also required. Under the recommendation of Nango Rio, she entered a very famous physics institute in China after graduating from high school. She forgets sleep and food, works very hard on research, and often stays in the research institute for a week at a time. Therefore, like her mother, she put on glasses early, her hair was always messy, and her face and skin color were frighteningly pale. Obviously, just to keep up with the footsteps left by Nango Rio, she has become exhausted and is even secretly taking anti-anxiety drugs. Seeing my daughter look really uneasy, Nango Rio, Nango Kishu, and Nango Takina persuade her to take good care of her body. But every time, Nangxiang Mei always agreed, and continued to stay up late the next day, with a haggard look on her face. There is no other way, the wives have no choice but to blow on you on the pillow, hoping that you can convince your daughter. They are still as dependent on you as before. In this regard, you decide. 1. Call the research institute immediately and ask Nangxiang Mei to apologize to the three mothers immediately. 2. Call her to the room late at night to educate her. 3. Respect her choice, but ask her why she is so anxious. This time there is no option to simulate it in person. Nangxiang Shi glanced at the three options that popped up, and he probably had an idea. This choice must be a slight adjustment to the final ending. The ending that has been determined will probably not change because of this choice. This idea was determined. Nangxiang Shi looked at the three options. The first option is simple and direct, asking Nangxiang Mei to apologize to the three mothers, but even so, it probably won't change the status quo. The second option educates her. To be honest, this method might still be useful to the underage Nang Xiangmei. But the other party is already an adult and is just educating her. I think she will end up like Nang Xiangqinshu and others. Nang Xiangmei is obedient and agrees on the surface, but in fact she still goes her own way. Then there are three options. Nang Xiangxi took a look at the three options. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu De Zi Wei. Chapter 294. My daughter doesn't make people worry at all, and even secretly takes anti-anxiety drugs. There must be a deeper reason for this. Attacking from this aspect should be able to achieve results. Nang Xiangxi raised his hand and chose the three options. It's just that education and coercion cannot shake adults who have gradually matured. You are well aware of this and decide to respect her choice and find out the underlying reasons for her behavior. That night, you called Nang Xiangmei, who had just returned home from get off work, into the study. In the world of the mind, memories surged. In the study room, soft lights are scattered, giving people an indescribable feeling of comfort. The night is very bright today. The white moon hung in the sky, and its silver light shone on the door. Nang Xiangmei stood in front of the study. As an adult, she inherited her mother's excellent appearance. She has long gray curly hair, regular facial features, and slender eyebrows. When raised, she gives the impression that she might be angry. Her golden eyes are hidden behind glasses, showing an indescribable intellectual beauty. The only flaw may be that her skin looks a little pale due to staying in the research institute for a long time. Have some courage. She gently pushed the door open and stepped into the study. She seemed expressionless and didn't care about anything, but in fact, the moment she stepped into the study, she stared at the figure in the study. It was an elegant and handsome man sitting on a soft chair in the study, holding his face with one hand, holding a thick literary novel and reading it carefully. Those clean eyes reflected the dazzling white pages of the book. The fair and beautiful fingers were raised and lowered. It gives people an indescribable and pleasing feeling. No one dared to disturb him. Nang Xiangmei slowed down her pace. Quietly, he came to the other party's side, lowered his body, and whispered, "Father, do you want to see me for something?" She naturally knew what was going on when the man called her over. But at this time, it is safer to pretend to be stupid. In my impression, my father had never used any method similar to stick education to the three sisters. Even for their willfulness when they were young. My father also gave me the most basic and equal respect. This is the biggest reason why the three sisters respect and like their father. That's exactly what it is. The moment Nangomei learned that her father asked her to enter the study, my heart felt heavy and there was pressure. The man raised his black, clean, and clear eyes. Time did not leave any obvious marks on his face, but instead gave his handsome face an indescribable air of elegance. Under her gaze, the man closed the novel and spoke, "Have you had dinner?" asked calmly. But the content of the words was not the oncoming blame that Nang Xiangmei thought, but a slightly concerned inquiry. This made Nang Xiangmei a little unexpected. The words she had prepared were stuck in her throat, and she could only answer her father's question in a low voice. "No. Sit here and wait for a while." Did not continue to speak. The man stood up and walked out the door. After a while, the other party brought a bowl of steaming noodles. The steaming noodles are simply topped with eggs. Eat. Why? Hey, what? I want you to have dinner. The man patted her head amusedly. Ah, oh, okay. There is no blame at all, and no complaints at all. This made Nang Xiangmei take the bowl and chopsticks at a loss, leaned against the desk, and started eating. The hot noodles fell into his belly, making his dry and cold stomach feel warm. Just the right seasoning makes Nang Xiangmei feel like she can't stop after just one bite. There were very few days when my father cooked. But every time he cooks, it can be regarded as the biggest celebration in the family. Because his cooking skills are much better than those of the three mothers. Even very ordinary dishes have a sense of transformation into magic in his hands. She finished the noodles in the bowl and gave a lovely burp in front of her father. This childish behavior made her pale face turn slightly red. But at this point, father should be getting down to business, right? She thought. Then he heard his father's words. Now that you're full, let's go back and rest. The man stretched and spoke like this. Why? This sentence once again exceeded Nang Xiangmei's expectations. She was stunned. It's late at night and I call myself into the study. In the end, you just let yourself go back without saying anything? Nango Mei couldn't understand it at all, and even couldn't accept it. She couldn't help but took a step forward and whispered, Father, you asked me to come over. Don't you have anything to ask me? Yes, I have. The man smiled and nodded. Then why? Will you give me a frank answer if I ask? The man asked back. And that's the rhetorical question. But Nang Xiangmei fell into complete silence. Frank answer? No. If her father asked her about the institute, presumably she can only say a few perfunctory words, right? It's simply impossible to give a frank answer. I know you've been under a lot of pressure lately. The man put down the novel in his hand and reached out to touch her head, so instead of asking some meaningless questions, I'd rather let you eat and sleep well. When you want to say something, tell me what you want to say. That's enough. The tone is caring and gentle. Nothing forced. This made Nang Xiangmei feel an inexplicable feeling of guilt. Feeling my father's touch. Her face turned slightly red, then she raised her head, and finally sat close to him. Slowly tell the story of these days. It turns out that in the institute, as the daughter of the genius Nango Rio, she was often compared with her mother by the people inside the institute. This may be just their unintentional words, but it makes Nang Xiangmei feel more stressed. In order to achieve results that are not inferior to those of my mother, and because as a daughter I don't want to embarrass my mother. She put a lot of effort into this. Exhausted every day, the fatigue seeping into the body, coupled with psychological pressure. She was also deeply anxious about this and even started taking anti-anxiety medication. She whispers everything to you. And you told her not to care about other people's opinions. She chose physics because she liked it, not to compare with someone. I have to compete with others and live in the shadow of my mother. That kind of life is too tiring and completely unnecessary. The long-term status in your daughter's mind and the speech skills you use to ease her played a role. Nang Xiangmei is not as attached to her point of view as before. And after chatting with you, Nang Xiangmei clearly felt that she felt much more relaxed. Under your mediation, she gradually stepped out of her mother's shadow and faced life with a more positive and optimistic attitude. Although I occasionally stay up late, it is not as severe as before and my body is gradually recovering. The bottle of anti-anxiety medicine was abandoned in a corner by her. Your life is back on track. The three daughters have gradually shown amazing talents in their respective fields and embarked on their own paths in life. Everything is so happy and ordinary. The only thing that worries your wives is that your daughters don't seem to have much interest in men their own age. Even though they have reached the age when marriage should be discussed, they are still as clinging to you as they were when they were children and refuse to let go. Especially the eldest daughter Nang Xiangchunchi. She always looks disgusted with you externally, but secretly she is the one closest to you, and she is almost always planning to isolate Nango Nahiro and Nango Mei from your side. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 295. Although you are aware of this, you don't particularly care. The daughter's thoughts, daughter's plans, and daughter's thoughts should be resolved by themselves. You still show the greatest tolerance and respect to your daughter. Time continues to move backward. You and your wife are gradually moving from middle age to old age. One day, Nang Xiangqianshi suddenly mentioned that she wanted to go to the beach, and you agreed to her request. It was a summer. You who have gradually become older, accompanied by your 3 daughters, look at the beach of Kamakura. The sunset over the coastline is a bit dazzling. Looks so beautiful. But it passed away at an extremely fast speed. Human life is also like the Kamakura sea under the sunset. In this summer, the girl who was always smiling, enthusiastic and generous left you forever. You hugged each other, feeling both reluctant and helpless. In the following winter, it seems that following the footsteps of the blonde-haired girl, the black-haired girl also left you amid the winter silver flowers. Before she passed away, you kissed her forehead and whispered to her that you would never let her feel lonely. 3 years later, Nango Rio also closed her eyes silently in your arms. You held her palm tightly, looked at the 3 daughters in front of you, and sorted out your emotions. There are still them you can rely on. Under the careful care of your 3 daughters, you go to the places where your 3 wives are to worship every year. But human life will eventually come to an end. When you die, whisper to them to bury you together. That year, you were 98 years old. When you close your eyes, the shadows of the 3 wives smiling coquettishly, and the happy scenes of living with them, replay in your mind one by one. You never feel alone. It was like this when I was accompanied by my wife. It is the same now. They who are deep in my memory, never grow old, and never lose their color. Simulation ends. Chapter 220. Bringing the simulated daughter to reality. 4,000 words. It's over. It is finally over. Nang Xiangqi stretched hard. It's not that he thinks this ending is unsafe. But he clearly felt that something was not quite right about his state today. My low-rent house had some drafts. And since I got caught in the rain, my body seems to have caught a cold. Even taking a hot bath didn't improve it. In addition, I had to make time to come up with questions for ending the band, and my body was tired again. Then came the simulation. The mood that had been calm also began to fluctuate at this time. This makes an already poor body even worse. If the simulation continues. He himself couldn't keep his eyes closed and rested. But it's okay. Live to be 98. Looking at his lifespan in the simulation, Nang Xiangqi felt that it was really not easy. In previous simulations, he was exhausted at every turn, fell ill with colds, and was mentally and physically exhausted. But this simulation was completely different. Daily exercise helped. His physical fitness is getting better and better. If this continues, it's not a problem to break through the 100-year barrier, right? Very good. Just keep going. Nang Xiangqi secretly made up his mind, and then coughed heavily. It's better to rest first. Feeling that his body was getting more and more out of shape, Nang Xiangqi shook his head. Although I don't think I can catch a cold with my physical condition. But taking precautions beforehand never hurts. Think so? Nang Xiangqi coughed again and did not look at the simulation scores and evaluations as well as the props obtained for the time being. He just retracted his body completely into the bed and closed his eyes. In my sleep, he only felt that he was getting colder and colder. I got sick. When Nang Xiang woke up the next day, he looked at the thermometer in his hand and came to this conclusion. Sick indeed. The unnatural soreness coming from deep within the body, as well as the heavy limbs. Without exception, he was reminded of this fact. I'm so. Nang Xiangqi put the thermometer next to the bedside cabinet with a complicated mood. His sports value 8 body has just been acquired for a day. Are you sick? It's too useless, right? Nang Xiangqi shook his head helplessly. Etc. While Nangxiang was thinking about what to do next, he thought of something. I am sick. It seems that it has been reflected in the simulation as early as possible. I remember it was Goto Kazuri's happy ending simulation. Because I tutored and wrote the questions for the ending band, I became physically exhausted and eventually became exhausted and fell ill. It's really a match. Nangxiang Shi coughed, feeling the dizziness in his head, thinking this. It can indeed match up. If you look at it from the perspective of the simulator. The reason why I forced myself to write the question for ending the band last night despite my cold body was probably the cause of my illness. Nangxiang Shi couldn't help but rub his temples and sighed lightly. This is really true. Then if we follow the simulation of Goto Isato's happy ending, the next part should be a plot in which Ikuyo Kida and Najika Itaki have a crush on him. Probably not. Nangxiang frowned. In reality, he probably doesn't have that many interactions with Ijishi Hunka and Kida Ikuyo. The energy is mainly concentrated on Goto Kazuri and MS Yamada, who is often reduced to a bottom-line role. For the two of them, he probably just chatted a few words on the line. There's no point in continuing to think about this. Feel the drowsiness coming from your mind. Nangxiang Shi stopped thinking and turned to look at the simulator page. All I can say is that the simulator lady is really dedicated. After finishing the simulation last night, he just left the other party there and ignored him. As a result, I opened my eyes today. The light blue page is still floating in sight, with no sign of automatically closing. Look at the page in front of you. Nangxiang Shi touched the phone over. Then make a call. Hello? Mr. Ishikawa? Well, it's me, Nangxiang. Sorry, I have some health problems today. Yes, I have a bit of a cold. So I want to take a day off to rest. Okay. Okay. Please excuse me, Ishikawa-sensei, then that's it? Simply have a conversation with the class teacher on the other end of the phone and inform them of the specific situation. I got a day off when I was in Nangxiang. Then, I don't have the appetite to eat right now. Nangxiang Shi turned his attention back to the simulation page. Let's take a look at the simulation yesterday. Fingers slide down. Yesterday I was too tired, so I didn't pay attention to the system evaluation and simulation results. Although my current physical condition is still not good, I still have the strength to take a look at the simulation evaluation. Simulation ends. System score, 95 points. You've achieved a quad of 4 happy ending. System evaluation, 4 people travel together, their love shines like the sunset, like a charming star in the cold night. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 296. They are your favorite morning star, and you are the moon they cannot let go of. You and her were just friends in the beginning, and you wanted to help her just because you saw the shadow of someone in her. But in the process of getting along day and night, her strong but fragile heart made you care a little, and the caring eyes you cast also made her feel warm in the process of overcoming her own psychological shadow. The beginning of all love is born from this casual care and occasional caring eyes. Your constant help makes her care more and more about you, and she can't take her eyes away from you. Faced with your seizing confession, she was unable to resist and fell into your trap. The reason why your love has some twists and turns is that although she likes you, she also can't let go of the blonde girl and the black-haired girl who are friends. She doesn't want to see the result that only she is happy and the other two cannot be happy. But what she didn't expect was that you and the other two had the same idea. You had already accepted each other, and her worries were irrelevant. As time went by, she gave up studying abroad and living a smooth life, and chose to move forward with you. Just by being with you, she has the courage to face everything. That was the first time she refused her parents' request. Your college entrance examination went very smoothly. She entered the university she wanted and entered the major she had been pursuing. After that, you silently waited for her, and at the same time, you began to plan your own plans for the future. At this stage, you are relying on each other and an absolutely indispensable part of each other's lives. If your heart is a bird in the wilderness, then their eyes are the sky that belongs to this bird. The ordinary happiness suddenly cast a haze, and her parents suddenly visited, disrupting all your plans. Fortunately, you chose the right path, did not avoid it, and faced your true heart. With your outstanding abilities, appearance, and emotional intelligence, her parents have temporarily accepted your relationship. This allows you to finally relax and concentrate on spending every day with them. 3 years after finishing college, the good news came that you had a child. The wealth you accumulated before has been put to use. You don't have to worry about money and work hard to take care of each other. The originally difficult production process is now extremely smooth with your mutual support. In middle age, your children's troubles are seen in your eyes. You smile and comfort them, telling them not to care, and comforting your daughter's emotions in your own way. The only thing that worries your wives may be that your children are too dependent on you, but you don't care. The sea of time continues to surge. In terms of time, your life is like the sunset over the Kamakura Sea. Beauty only exists in a moment. And this moment of time is eternity to you. In your company, they passed away one after another. But you don't feel lonely in the company of your daughter. You worship them every year, and your thoughts and scent are blown to the distant wilderness by the breeze. As you are dying, you tell your daughters that they don't have to feel sad about this, because for you, getting together with your wives may be the most beautiful thing. You close your eyes, fragments of memory began to emerge. There, they never grow old and never leave you. 95 points. Looking at this score, Nang Xiangxi was actually quite surprised. If we only talk about scores, 95 points is definitely his highest score except for personal simulation. But if you think about it carefully, it is indeed true. In the simulation, he and Fudabario realized their respective dreams. The days spent with Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina can also be said to be happy and happy. Almost every condition has been optimized and we have done our best. If this wasn't a 95 rating, it would be a bit strange, right? So, what are the items settled by the system? End of scoring observation. Nang Xiangxi glanced at the system settlement page. But after just one glance, his expression became weird the next second. I saw clearly marked on the light blue page. System settlement, as a result of completing a happy ending of 4 people died happily, you obtain the special prop Random Daughter Appearance Card. Random Daughter Summoning Card? This. Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but blinked. If there is no problem with his reading comprehension. The explanation for the name of this prop, should be, he can use this prop to manifest his daughter to him. But the problem is, how can I have a daughter? Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but rub his eyebrows. If it were in the simulation, then he did have a lot of daughters. Starting with Nango no Take, who is one with Goto. And now Fudabario's Nango Mei. In simple terms, Nang Xiangxi had 6 daughters with completely different personalities in the simulation. But there is such a problem here. He does have a daughter. But those daughters are all daughters in a simulation. In reality, he has no so-called daughter at all. He hasn't even had actual relationships with girls yet. How is this thing going to reveal my non-existent daughter? Nang Xiangxi groaned and took a look at the prop's introduction. I saw an additional card-shaped icon in the system toolbar. He reached out and clicked. The next moment, the props page popped up in front of me. Random Daughter Appearance Card. Every simulation, every birth of a new life, is both accidental and destined. Your constant choices and attempts have built countless simulation timelines of reality and accidents. At this moment, everything is intertwined here. When you see them again, can you still take on the responsibility of a father as you did in the simulation? Use 800 heartbeat points to activate the props, and you will hear their requests to you as a father, should you fulfill their requests. Nang Xiangxi. Let's not talk about the high price of 800 points of excitement value. Just talking about this vague explanation made Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. 800 heartbeat points, activate props, hear their requests to me. This explanation is somewhat general. But it also made Nang Xiangxi secretly interested. He had already noticed it. Every simulation I perform is actually closely related to what will happen in the future. It's like a simulation by Ichiri Goto. If he followed the simulated route with Goto Ichiri in reality, in the end, there would be no doubt that he and Goto Ichiri would be able to get together and build a happy ending. In the same way, Nang Xiangnazu will be born. But what if I didn't choose Goto Kazuri, but went with MS Yamada? Choosing the simulated route of Yamada Ryo in reality, so where will Nango no Take, who was originally supposed to be born, go? Nang Xiangxi just thought for a while. I felt that this prop might not be as simple as I imagined. After all, it is different from other one-time use prop cards. This random daughter appearance card is a prop with no restrictions on use. But it's useless to think about it so much. Nang Xiangxi shook his head. You know that you only need to spend 800 heartbeat points to see your daughter. According to the simulator's explanation, it is not a simulation of a dry memory, but a real daughter who can touch the entity. I kind of want to try it. Nang Xiang sighed. But too poor to try. Looking at the precarious heartbeat value after one simulation, Nang Xiang sighed slightly. It seems, no matter which world you are in, poor people are not worthy of having wives and daughters. It's better to put this idea aside for now and rest in peace and recuperate. Nang Xiangxi fumbled for cold medicine, drank it with water, and then lay down on the bed again. Relying on the reaction of the drug, he quickly fell back to sleep. And just after Nang Xiang fell asleep, Oka High School. Ashi is absent because of a cold. Listening to the explanation from the students in Nang Xiang's class in front of me, Goto Ichiri opened his mouth wide. Originally, she wanted to discuss with Nangoshi the recent strange behavior of Itaki Hunka and Kita Ikuyo. Unexpectedly, I haven't found the other party yet. The other party is already absent due to illness. Chapter 221. Ichi Hungzia's Melancholy 4100 words. It's a bit weird recently to be the leader of the band Hijika Itaki and Ikuyo Kita of the band Yokokura. Even Goto Ichiri noticed this. Although Ujizi Hungzia still looks gentle to others at all times. But lately, whenever I hear Nang Xiangxi's name, I feel a little distracted. Several times I even served the wrong drinks to guests. This made Ichi Hoshige, the older sister, a little worried. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 297. This tough-talking and soft-hearted store manager also specially adjusted Ichiki Hungzia's schedule so that she could have more time to rest. If Ichiki Hunka still needs Ichiri Goto to pay special attention, then the performance of Kita Ikuyo on the other side can be said to be very obvious. Recently Ichiri Goto wanted to discuss the Nango period with Ikuyo Kita. But almost every time he spoke, Kita Ikuyo was having a good conversation just a second ago. The next second he hesitated, saying that he had something to do and making excuses to leave. That reaction. The more Goto Ichiri thought about it, the more something was wrong. Could it be like what happened in the previous dream? Not just me, but also Ryo, Hunka-chan, Kita-san together? Although that is also very good. But. Ichiri Goto was a little confused. She didn't have any opinions to begin with, and she didn't know how to deal with this kind of thing suddenly. Therefore, She really had no choice but to discuss it when she found Nangxiang. But I didn't expect to be sick, she. Lying on his desk, Goto Kazuri subconsciously tapped the smooth tabletop with his fingers, feeling worried in his heart. She knew Nangxiang's physical fitness. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be that simple to catch a cold. But the temperature has turned cooler recently, it's the peak season for colds. So worried. When? I don't know how I am now, are you hungry? Goto Ichiri's head turned over on the small desk. The long pink hair was also messed up by this action. Decided. As if he had made some kind of determination. She raised her head and clenched her fists. Let's go visit the doctor. That's right. Go and see Ashi. But before that, Goto Ichiri took out his mobile phone from the hole in the table. Click lean. Slide your finger down. Soon, a man called the end, finish, line chat group jumped into my eyes. Probably dead at everyone, that, Ashi seems to be sick, I want to go to his house today to check on the situation, so I guess I won't be able to attend today's band practice. Probably dead, very sorry. The picture shows the expression of the pink-haired girl Dogza. This should be fine, right? It was the first time that all the members of IT were in the group that ended the band. Goto Ichiri was a little nervous. But what made her even more nervous was she had only sent this message for 2 seconds, and the originally quiet group was like a heated kettle, suddenly boiling. Aloof bassist, are you sick, our? The aloof bassist, I'll go there too. The lonely bass weirdo, little lonely, remember to buy more things, I want to eat too. The picture shows the expression of thank you for the hospitality. Goto was stunned. She was about to reply when she saw this message. But the next second, a message popped up below. Alas. Be the sunniest person, Ikuyo Kitaha, Nangxiang Sang is sick, are you okay, is it serious, did Ichiri-chan ask, what is the situation? Ah. Goto Ichisakura's pink lips opened slightly, and panicked syllables came out from them. There are too many characters for Kita Ikuyo too quickly. She just finished reading it and wanted to reply the next second. Alas. Be the sunniest person, my friends and I were shopping at the canteen, but we really couldn't spare any time. Sorry, Ely, I'll talk to you when I get back to class. 10, can't 10 take action? Kita-san, your typing speed is already many times faster than mine. Is this the speed at which social media experts reply to messages? Ichiri Goto, who has suffered from social phobia for a long time, is very envious of the ability to type a long string of characters even with one hand. And obviously no one said anything just now. Goto Ichiri stared blankly at the phone screen. Just now, it's over, finish, the group was still quiet for a while, and there was no sign of popularity. It turns out she just mentioned Nangxiang. Many people jumped out of the chat group. It was as if Nangxiang she was the catalyst for some special ingredient. But that's fine. Everyone goes to see Ashi, you don't have to go there alone, it won't be so embarrassing. She was thinking this. Then I saw the profile picture popping up at the bottom. That's the avatar of a triangular blonde-haired kid. Want to set foot on the road to the stars, UDG Hungzi a little loneliness, have you asked about the specific situation, is there anything wrong with Nangxiang-san, don't be anxious, just type slowly and speak. Hungzia-chan. Look at these words of concern that are too kind and gentle. Gotoichi looked moved. Really? If we want to talk about gentleness, Hungzia Itaka must occupy the position of the leader of the closing band, the kind that no one can shake. Take a breath. Goto Kazuri roughly summarized the situation in his mind and then typed. Probably dead, I don't know the specific situation, but Ashi asked for leave today, he has never asked for leave before, so the situation must be serious. Want to set foot on the road to the stars? Well, I understand then today's band practice will be cancelled temporarily. Let's go visit Nangxiang together. Want to embark on the road to the stars? Ryo, Shimokitazawa High School is close to Nango-san's home. I remember it should be pretty close, right? Let the two of us buy the things first. Aloof bassist, huh, do you still want me to spend money? If you want to set foot on the road to the stars, don't complain, that's it. The expression is that of a Q-version blonde girl with a face full of disgust. Call. After sending the last message and putting down the phone, the blonde girl stretched greatly in her seat. I'm sick, Nangxiang-san. Staring at the ceiling with bright red eyes, Yujizi Hongxia held her face up again and murmured to herself, I don't know what's going on. She closed her eyes. But just close your eyes. Various memories flooded into his mind. The memory of being admitted to the university of my choice through tutoring in Nangxiang. Ending the memory of the band realizing their dream with the help of Nangoshi and performing on the Tokyo Dome stage. Confess to him the unwillingness after failure. After waiting for more than 10 years, I finally lived with Nangxiang, and even did that kind of thing. No, 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 no. A blush instantly appeared on her pink face. The girl shook her head vigorously. How is that possible? It's like speaking to an invisible person. It's like talking to oneself. Itaki Hongxia's face turned red and she muttered, together with everyone, we did that kind of thing, it's impossible just thinking about it, right? She admits. She admitted. Recently, she was indeed like the memory in her mind. She had developed a good impression of Nangxiang because of her efforts in helping him with tutoring. But that's just a good impression. A little bit more favorable than my friends. I don't even like it at all. And think about it carefully. It's not just her. Xiao Lonely and Liang had already expressed their thoughts about Nanxiang. If he were to step in, doesn't that make the already chaotic scene even more chaotic? So it's impossible to fall in love with Nangxiang. Absolutely impossible. Yujizi Hongxia was thinking this way. But she soon thought of the scene in the memory fragments where she lived with her partner who ended the band. Yujizi Hongxia was silent. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 298. If it really turns out to be like that. At the end, the band members all fell in love with Nangxiang. What is right? Yidiji Hongxia sighed ha. If according to her character. When she likes someone, she will do anything for them. Even if you are rejected by the other party, you probably won't give up, just like the memory in your mind. Just because I know that I have this kind of character. That's why Yujizi Hongxia felt a little confused. If it's like in the dream, when I fell in love with Nangxiang like the other members. What should I do? Hey, even my recent work has become a bit uninteresting. The blonde girl sighed slightly. I don't understand it at all. Confused. It's morning to afternoon, which doesn't take long. But that guy Ryo. Walking out of Shimokitazawa High School, Ichiki Hunka was really in disbelief. We have obviously made an appointment to set off together. But when she went to Yamada Ryo's class and planned to ask him to leave together, she was informed by the other student. It turned out that Ryo Yamada slipped away as soon as get out of class started and disappeared from the class. Even today, this guy with short dark blue hair is on duty. Yujizi Hongxia seriously suspected that the other party did not want to spend money to buy things when visiting Nangxiang, so she ran away in advance. Forget it. It's useless to think about it anymore. Yamada Ryo didn't know where he went. There was really no other way, so she had to go visit Nangxiang alone. After buying things for the visit, I got on the train from Shimokitazawa station and went to Meguro district where I was in Nango. After all, this is Tokyo. It didn't take much time for Yujizi Hongxia to get off the tram and walk to the address he left in Nangxiang. It is different from Ryo Yamada and Chisuk Nishiki, who often go to Nangxiang's house for food. Yujizi Hongxia had never been to Nangxiang's home. I only learned about the family situation in Nangxiang from a few words from Yamada Ryo. It seems that the family situation in Nangxiang was average, and the living conditions were also very poor. But isn't this too bad? Yujizi Hongxia's eyes widened slightly. Looking at the building in front of her, she couldn't accept it for a while. Two-story building. The walls that were supposed to be white were now covered in black and gray, and it was obvious that no one had taken care of them for a long time. The paint on the blue iron railings peeled off, revealing the rusty fence underneath. A row of low-rent rooms stretches across. It looks as small as a coffin. Although Yujizi Hongxia's family conditions are not top-notch, they are still pretty good. Therefore, after seeing this particularly harsh environment in front of her, even she, who had always had a gentle personality, couldn't help but frown her beautiful eyebrows. This environment is too harsh. It feels like wind leakage in winter and rain leakage in summer are common. But after all, I haven't seen the situation inside yet. Maybe it doesn't look good from the outside. But what about the surprisingly good inside? Yujizi Hongxia comforted herself in this way. After finding the sign belonging to Nangxiang she stretched out her hand and rang the doorbell. Ding dong. The crisp doorbell rang. There was also a sound coming from inside the house. The door slowly opened after that. Huh? Hongxia. Sorry for the unexpected visit. Itaki Hongxia subconsciously raised his head and glanced at Nangxiang, who made the sound. It can be seen that the other party's condition is indeed average. He was yawning, his usually rosy and handsome face was a little pale, his short black hair was a little messy, and he looked listless. Probably still having a cold. With this in mind, Yujizi Hongxia continued to speak. I'm sorry, Nangxiang-san, I heard about your cold from Xiao Lonely, so I came here to check on the situation. If you don't mind, can I come in? From where? Under her gaze, Nan Xiangxi tilted his head and moved out of the way without asking any questions. I should be the one to bother Hongxia. Come in first. Excuse me. Said politely. With a bit of anxiety and curiosity, Ijishi Hongxia stepped into the room of a boy of the same age for the first time. It was different from the messy scene she had imagined. The interior of the room is unusually simple. There was no scattered garbage or other clothing on the ground, and there was no weird smell in the air. It can be seen that Nangxiang is also a very clean person in his daily life. And put aside these, Yujizi Hongxia's only feeling is cold. Extremely cold. This room is not so much a room as an ice cellar in another sense. The windows are obviously closed. But I still don't know where the cold wind will seep in. No wonder people with such good physical fitness in Nangxiang often catch colds. How can you not catch a cold while resting in a low-rent house with drafts like this? No. It's better to say that Nangxiang lived in a place like this every day and could still concentrate on studying and win first place. This is the most incredible place, right? Watch and watch. Inexplicably, Yujizi Hongxia felt a little sorry for Nangxiang. It turns out that Nangxiang, who always looked relaxed in front of them, actually lived in such conditions. When Yujizi Hongxia looked at Nangxiang secretly, suffering seemed unable to defeat the young man in front of him. At least she had never heard Nanxiang complain about his current living situation. No wonder there are fragments of memories in my mind. She will have such a deep love for Nangxiang. Because just facing difficulties head-on, it already fully meets her standards for choosing a mate. She thought so. Then I heard Nangxiang's words while lying on the bed. Sorry, I'm not feeling well, so I won't entertain you. You can just find a place to sit, Hongxia. Ah, okay. Nodding subconsciously, Yujizi Hongxia looked around again and finally sat down at the small round table. Then she saw something. It was placed on a round table. The exam papers that Nangxiang spent a lot of time preparing for the end of the band. Chapter 222. I'm a little happy to be called mom. 4,000 words. Nangxiang-san, is this? Looking at the test papers placed on the round table, Yujizi Hongxia stood up and turned to look at Nangxiang-shi. But this time, she didn't get an answer from the other party. When she looked back, she found that Nangxiang-shi had closed his eyes because of the drowsiness deep in his head. It seemed that just coming out to open the door and saying hello to her had exhausted all the strength he had in Nangxiang. The other party is obviously in a confused state now. Yidinu Hongxia. While looking at Nangxiang, he also looked at the test papers neatly placed on the top of the table. The standard and beautiful fonts on it made Ichi Hongxia's thoughts surge and she was a little moved. She really didn't expect it. Even if his physical condition is so bad. Nangxiang-shi was still thinking about them. Preparing these 4 handwritten test papers with completely different contents, even in Nangxiang, it takes a considerable amount of time, right? With such a body, I still have to rack my brains to think and formulate questions for them. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 299. Nangxiang-san, you are really. Yujizi Hongxia sighed and stood up helplessly. As early as when I came here. She has been worried about how to deal with her relationship with Nangxiang-shi, and she is a little confused because of it. But now it seems. These confusions and worries. It seems that there are partial explanations and answers at this moment. Itaki Hongxia stood up. In order not to disturb the rest during the trip to Nangxiang. She walked to the other party softly. After hesitating for a while. Yujizi Hongxia still made up her mind to raise her white palm and gently place it on the other person's forehead. Because he wanted to warm up his body, there was a layer of fine beads of sweat on the other person's forehead. It's a little hot. Itaki Hongxia knelt on the floor and wiped off the sweat with the towel beside her. She looks like a newlywed wife serving her husband. Nangxiang-san, I'm sorry, please take your temperature. Holding the thermometer placed by the bedside, Ichiki Hongxia wanted to hand it to Nangxiang. Her white fingers reflected the crystal clear thermometer. However, I don't have the strength, help me measure it. Nangxiang made a sound as if he was sleeping. Why? I really didn't expect that Nangxiang-shi would actually speak like this, and Yujizi Hongxia blushed. If Nangxiang-shi was also a girl, there would be no problem in taking the other person's temperature. But the problem, Nangxiang-shi is a boy. Want to put your hand into Nangxiang-shi's clothes and help him clamp the thermometer under his arm? Just thinking about this overly intimate gesture moved her, who was always warm and generous. The bodies of adolescent girls attract a certain degree of attention from boys. The opposite is also true. The energetic bodies of adolescent boys are actually inexplicably attractive to girls. Yujizi Hongxia is also a 17-year-old girl, so naturally she is not exempt from the custom. Especially when the target is Nangxiang, who has been paying close attention to her recently. Her cute little white hands stretched forward, and then retracted anxiously. The thermometer in her hand was more like a hot iron than a thermometer, and she couldn't hold it at all. Finally, when I saw Nangxiang, he squinted his eyes and seemed to be really uncomfortable. Only then did she clench her little fists, mustered up her courage, and approached Nangxiang-shi. I'm sorry, Nangxiang-san. His palms groped into the quilt. Then came the moisture and sweat that could be felt. The uniquely male scent made her blush with embarrassment. Shame tortured her. At the same time, he looked at Nangxiang-shi's calm and elegant face with his eyes closed, seemingly unaware of his actions. Other feelings came to her mind. There was a vague feeling of joy that seemed to monopolize the young man in front of her, Only she could see Nang Xiang like this. No, no, no. What's on your mind? Yujizi Hongxia took a deep breath and tried hard to calm down her breathing. He groped the muscles near the young man's chest. Then find the right place and stuff the thermometer in your hand. Clamp it tight, Nango-san. Taking her hands out of the bedding and the young man's clothes, Ijishi Hunka, blushing, gave an uneasy order. Nang Xiangxi responded in a daze. Good. Now it seems there is no problem. Seeing Nan Xiang subconsciously tighten the thermometer, the girl let out a soft breath. The action just now was too exciting for a 17-year-old girl. Especially when Nang Xiang looked clueless. Let Yi Din know that Hongxia has an inexplicable feeling of guilt. She waited a few minutes. After feeling that the time was almost up, he reached in and took out the thermometer again with a red face. 38.7 degrees Celsius. Moderate to high fever. Ichiki Hongxia put down the thermometer worriedly. This cannot continue. Need to take medicine to cool down. Fortunately, the cold medicine I used in Nangxiang was placed beside the bed. She no longer had to bother asking Nan Xiang. Prepare capsules and cold medicine. However, the next second, something happened again that put Yi Dizi Hongxia into trouble. How to get Nang Xiangxi to take medicine? If that Nang Xiangsang behaves as usual, just wake him up and ask him to take medicine and go down. But it is obvious that Nang Xiang is in poor health now. Wake him up. Itaki Hongxia, who has always been gentle and considerate, couldn't do it at all. And patients, do need rest. No way. Yi Dizi Hongxia had no choice but to come to Nang Xiangxi's bedside with the medicine. Nang Xiang-san, take your medicine. She whispered. General effect. Nan Xiangxi on the bed just frowned and made no unnecessary noise. She had no choice but to speak softly again, Nang Xiang-san, take the medicine and then continue to rest. This time Nang Xiangxi finally reacted. And his reaction was very normal. Feed me. Well. Yujizi Hongxia Yingfen's lips parted, a little embarrassed. It's like giving medicine. Ah. Nang Xiangxi made the gesture of a baby bird waiting for its mother to feed it. Yujizi Hongxia couldn't help but glance at Nang Xiangxi. If the other party hadn't still closed his eyes, she would have thought that Nan Xiangxi had woken up and was teasing her deliberately, like a kitten. Observe for a long time. No results were obtained. It seemed that he just had a slight reaction to her voice. Yi Din knew that Hongxia had no choice. I could only play the role of mother for the time being and climbed into bed. The little feet wearing yellow boat socks moved around the edge of the bed. She planned to hold up Nang Xiangxi's head and then feed him medicine from behind. In fact, that's exactly what she did. After climbing onto the bed, he gently supported Nang Xiangxi's back with his hands, trying to get him to lean on the back of the bed, and then feed him medicine. But maybe it's because of a restless mind. It may also be because he was too heavy when he was in Nang Xiang. Her palm actually slipped, and the back of Nang Xiangxi's head fell down, and the pillow rested on her chest. Feeling the warmth and touch from her chest made her mood, which had been finally adjusted, once again stir up huge waves. Itaki Hongxia's face was flushed. She didn't know what to do or how to refuse. At this time, she thought of Yamada Ryo. I also thought of Goto Kazuri. But when he saw Nan Xiang, his eyes were closed and his eyebrows were furrowed. She let out another heavy breath. This man is really. There's nothing we can do about you, Toki-kun. Calling out softly the name Nang Xiang was called in the memory fragments. Then he stretched out his hand and lovingly gathered the hair that had fallen down in front of Nang Xiangxi's forehead. The blonde girl gently touched his forehead. After staying like this for a while, Yujizi Hongxia took a deep breath, made up her mind, carefully adjusted her sitting posture, and then began the process of giving medicine to Nan Xiangxi. This process was actually not as complicated as she imagined. Although Nangxiang was half asleep, he would take the capsules and other medicines that were brought to his mouth. It's as if he is actually very awake now, but he just doesn't have the energy to speak or respond with actions. It's over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu De Ziwei. Chapter 300. He laid Nangxiang Shi down again. Yu Zhi Hongxia wiped the fine sweat on her forehead. She had never thought that taking care of a boy was such a laborious task. But it's really just like in the dream. Looking at Nangxiang Shi's face, Ichiki Hongxia sat back down at the small round table, holding her face and thinking subconsciously. She clearly remembered it in the dream of memory fragments. She also had this kind of interaction with Nangxiang. Usually when Nangxiang wants to tease her, he always makes various requests to her. As one of the wives, she was really embarrassed about Nangxiang Shi's unreasonable requests. But they will agree to each other in the end. There were even times when Nangxiang would jokingly call her Hongxia's mother. The thought of this. Yi Dizi felt a little itchy in Hongxia's heart. She has always been a girl who does not resist others' dependence. And if she is relied on by Nangxiang Shi, whom she has always relied on. Even if you get bullied. As a mother, she probably won't resist, right? No, 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 no. He patted his cheeks hard to pull himself out of his delusion. Yi Dizi Hongxia's face was red. How could she have such thoughts? Didn't we agree before that we just have a little fondness for Nangxiang-san? Now I am thinking here and there again. Isn't this the same as a little lonely person who likes to have delusions? Her cheeks flushed. She felt that what she did just now was so exciting that it caused her heart to become confused, which was why she had such symptoms of random thoughts. Next, keep your distance from Nangxiang-san. I can no longer be led away by the desires and delusions in my heart. Decide like this in your mind. Then, Yu Zhi Hongxia heard it. Lying on the bed, Nangxiang Shi muttered to himself in an uncomfortable voice as if in a daze, "My body is sticky." Yi Dinu Hongxia. She tilted her head. When looking at Nangxiang, who was still sleeping, I hesitated for a while. In the end, the small and delicate body still stood up. Pajamas, are you going to wear white, or gray? She made a sound. Half an hour later. Suddenly I have something to do, Hongxia. I forgot that you don't have the key. There was a crisp sound of a key turning the keyhole. A girl with dark blue short hair walked into the room of the low-rent house. Then she frowned, huh? The atmosphere in the low-rent house made Ms. Yamada feel that something was wrong. First of all, there are no vocals. Secondly, the lights were not turned on. There was obviously insufficient light in the entire room, giving it a lifeless feel. If it is normal. Hear yourself opening the door and entering. Nangxiang Shi or Yi De knew that Hongxia had already come out to greet him. What is going on? He blinked his amber eyes in confusion. Yamada Ryo casually kicked off his leather shoes and walked into the room. What came into view was Nangxiang Shi sleeping on the bed in an extremely comfortable state. Even Ms. Yamada can see it. The state in Nangxiang was not particularly good. His face was a little pale, with some unnatural ruddy color in the paleness. This is natural. I had heard that Shijun had a cold. The main reason I came here this time was to take care of him. But Yamada Ryo's eyes turned to the other side. She saw Ichiki Hunka lying on the edge of the round table, her face flushed and breathing heavily. What's wrong? Hongxia. The black stockings outlined Miss Yamada's perfect leg shape. She stepped on the floor, walked over, tilted her head, and looked at the panting Ijishi Hunka in front of her with some confusion. No. Nothing. Covering her nose with her white palms, Yujizi Hungzia spoke softly. It doesn't look like everything is okay. Ryo Yamada became curious. She was so curious that no one could stop her except Nangxiangshi. She stepped forward without hesitation, and then pulled away Yuji Hungzia's palm covering her nose. Then, Yamada Ryo's calm but slightly shocked voice sounded. Nosebleeds. Hungzia, lots of nosebleeds. I know. The golden side ponytail swayed. Next, she covered her nose and ran to the bathroom, hearing Hungzia's panicked voice. Almost 5 or 6 minutes. After taking care of the nose, Itaki Hungzia took a breath and walked out of the toilet. Is it still too exciting? Thinking back to the scene just now, Yuji Hongxia's face turned slightly red. But it's okay now, she thought. Ryo Yamada has arrived. There is another helper on the road when taking care of Nangxiang. I shouldn't have to stand alone like I did just now. Thinking this, Yuji Hongxia closed the toilet door. When she entered the room again, she saw Miss Yamada, who was full of curiosity, put her hand into Nangxiangshi's clothes without hesitation and touched it back and forth. That replaced his own hands, unscrupulous, Yamada Ryo's palms. Next moment. Cold. The sound exploded. Ryo Yamada can guarantee that. This is the first time she has known Yuji's Hai Hongxia. It was the first time she heard the other party speak to her at such a volume. Chapter 223. Why not stay at my house? 4,000 words. What a mistake. It was 7:30 in the evening when I woke up in Nangxiang. The sky outside the window also turned into the night sky. Dots of stars dotted the dark night sky. Nangxiangshi, who was lying on the bed and gradually coming back to his senses, couldn't help but shake his head. Misstep. Nangxiangshi muttered. His cold was actually almost gone by noon. The body heat is also fading away. So he got up and took a shower to wash off the sticky sweat from his body, and then made something to eat. Probably took a shower. The body is stimulated. The heat that had faded actually came back with more ferocity. The brain feels groggy and the body becomes heavier. This made Nangxiangshi lie back on the bed helplessly. As for what happens next, it was probably the reason why Ichi Hongxia came in. But the subsequent development is less clear. It's like dreams and reality mixed together. It made him feel dizzy and fell asleep until now. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 301. A cold is causing trouble. Nangxiangshi sighed in his heart. It was the first time he was absent from school and did not run in the morning, which made him a little uncomfortable as he had already formed a habit. Only then did he understand what a great deal it is to always have 900 heartbeat points on hand. Take one of the panacea in the exchange mall. No matter what kind of illness you have, you can recover as before. Just when Nangxiang was thinking about whether he should always have 900 heartbeat points in the future to deal with emergencies, a gentle questioning voice suddenly came from the side. Nangxiang-san, how are you feeling? Nanxiang turned his head sideways. Only then did he realize that the girl with blonde hair and side ponytail was already standing beside her. Want to drink? A bottle of sports drink to supplement salt was thoughtfully handed over by Ijishi Hongxia. I want a drink, thank you. Nanxiangshi nodded, took the sports drink from the other person's hand, and took a sip. I have to say that girls like Ijishi Hongxia are really considerate little cotton padded jackets. He had just woken up and knew to keep him hydrated. After thanking him, Nangxiang was about to speak. Is there any pain on your body? I also have a patch here that can relieve cold and sore symptoms. It's cool and comfortable when you put it on. Yuji Hongxia lowered her body and her pretty face came closer. I could even smell the good smell on her body when I was in Nangxiang. This time she tore off something similar to an OK bandage and asked Nan Xiangxi. Ah, that. This excessive concern made Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but open his mouth, just about to speak. Are you still hungry, Nang Xiang-san? You should be, right? I'll make something for you to eat right now. Just sit here and wait for me. He smiled softly at Nang Xiang, stood up, and turned around. Nang Xiangxi. A little confused, I glanced at Ajishi Hunka, who turned towards the small kitchen with her side ponytail swaying. The other party's behavior is almost the same as usual. It's just that when I was in Nangxiang, I had an inexplicable feeling of being cared for by my mother as a child. Especially today's inexplicable maternal brilliance from Yuji's Hai Hongxia, which made him unable to adapt to it all at once. But never mind. Nangxiang simply sat on the bed, half leaning on the back of the bed. Although the cold is almost gone, it still feels quite good to be taken care of by a beautiful girl. Nang Xiangxi decided to be lazy for a while without hesitation, while admiring the busy movements of the blonde girl with side ponytail in the kitchen. Probably making porridge or something like that. Under the watchful eye of Nang Xiangxi. First take out the casserole you have at home. Then pour the washed rice into it little by little. During this period, stretch out your finger to test the depth of the injected water. When it feels almost done, turn the switch and cook slowly over low heat. Her white fingers dipped in cold water looked pink and tender under the incandescent light, like pink shoots that had just grown in spring. After completing these actions, she gently wiped the fine beads of sweat on her forehead with the back of her hand. Then she tilted her head furtively. When he found Nan Xiang, he seemed to be looking at himself. The delicate face turned red. Then the waiting began. Wait until the porridge in the casserole is almost ready. Start lightly seasoning. Crack eggs into it. Add salt and green onions. Pick it up with oven mitts and bring it to the small round table. Nang Xiangxi took a closer look. The thick white porridge is sprinkled with some chopped green onion, and in the middle is a cooked but not yet cooked egg. The crystal clear yolk in the center makes people move their index fingers just by looking at it. Looks pretty good. A compliment from Nang Xiang. Well, maybe it's because of some changes in mentality. Just hearing Nan Xiangxi's casual compliment, Yiji Hongxia turned her face to the other side a little uncomfortably. The little feet wrapped in light yellow boat socks and the toes are gently stretched, which seems to indicate that the owner is in a good mood. Eat it while it's hot, Nang Xiang-san. After breaking up the egg yolks and heating them with the remaining heat in the pot, the girl handed the porcelain spoon to Nang Xiangxi. Trouble. Nang Xiangxi smiled and nodded. At the end of the afternoon, the only thing that replenished my energy was the bottle of sports drink. He was already very hungry. Taking the porcelain spoon, Nang Xiangxi started directly. Hiss, it's a little hot. I was a little anxious while eating, and got burned a bit. This is basically a very common situation that happens to everyone who eats hot food. But are you okay? Nang Xiang-san. The blonde girl suddenly stood up with a look of concern on her face. It was still a very gentle voice, but it was loud. This overly caring gesture made Nang Xiang look at Ichiki Hongxia in surprise. Today's Ajishi Hongxia. Why does it feel like something is wrong? Isn't it just that you got burned while eating some porridge? It's quite a common thing. He didn't understand. On the other side, Yujizi Hongxia seemed to realize that her reaction was a bit excessive. No, I'm sorry, I'm rude. She crossed her fingers and apologized quietly. It's okay. Nan Xiangxi smiled. After all, Ichiki-san is caring about my physical condition. There seemed to be some embarrassment in the air. He pretended to be embarrassed again and teased Ichiki Hongxia with a smile, but it is really difficult to eat when I just have a cold. It would be great if Ichiki-san is willing to feed me with his hands. This is just a simple joke. When an average girl hears this sentence, she will probably laugh and say something like, if it's hard to eat, don't eat it. But, then let me feed you. Nangxiang time. Nangxiang she was stunned for a while. Until the moment when Ichiki Hongxia took the initiative to stand up and sit next to him with a blushing face. He suddenly realized what Yiji Hongxia had just answered. Nangxiang-san, ah. Nangxiang she. Looking at the caring and gentle look in the girl's eyes. And that extremely close distance. Nangxiang she can even smell the delicious fragrance of the other person at this moment. If it were the male protagonist of an ordinary daily youth novel. My face was probably flushed at this moment. My mother-in-law didn't know what to say, and she felt regretful for her previous rash words and deeds. But, yes, not bad. After eating the white porridge from the porcelain spoon, Nangxiang smiled and tilted his head. It feels like Ichiki-san is taking care of a child as a mother. Do you still want it? She was so embarrassed by Nangxiang she's active teasing that she could hardly open her eyes. The blushing Ichiki Hongxia could only try to change the subject. She really didn't expect it. Scenes with fragments of memories in my mind. It actually reappeared at this time. A sense of shame and an indescribable joy. It made her lose some sense. Yes. Nangxiang opened his mouth. At this moment, Nangxiang she finally understood why he in the simulation especially liked to let girls take care of him, while he had nothing but food and clothing to open his mouth. It was a comfortable life in every sense of the word. Wait until he has almost eaten. He took the initiative to persuade Ichiki Hongxia, who wanted to continue feeding, to stop. I'm almost done. Has Ichiki-san eaten? Is there anyone else? Are they here too?